generous and kind introduction. So yes, I've been practicing meditation for 25 years, and I'm married to the same person for the last 40 odd years now. So it's amazing how that time has passed away. But during those 40 years, it hasn't all been sort of on an equal basis. There have been some challenging times. And today I want to explore why we get into a relationship, why relationships sour, and what we can do to heal some of the wounds that either we've inflicted on ourselves or on others, and hopefully find a more meaningful purpose where I can have a relationship with anyone and anything without being dependent on them, by accepting them. So I know for most of us, at some point in our lives, we do have a relationship. And it doesn't always have to be in a relationship with an individual. It can be a relationship with possessions, or a job, or a situation. But ultimately, when we get into a relationship, at first, it's fantastic. You think about the time when you met someone new and you think, cool, that's the person of my life. I want to be them for the rest of my life, or this is the ideal job for me. This is the best car I'm going to have and will ever have. But then against that backdrop, something goes wrong. And it's almost like we can't seem to capture that original feeling. And then we start getting into a sort of a culture of where I'm dissatisfied, I'm bored, I'm mistrusting. So I'm lost. And I'm thinking, well, the only way I'm going to get out of this mess is I leave my job, I leave this person, I leave these circumstances, and restart all over again. Hey, guess what? The moment I do that, I seem to sort of play that same old movie. You know, I find someone new and it's fantastic, and then I go through the stages again, and anything that can go wrong does go wrong, and scars are left on me mentally. Time heals, but most of it, there are still deep-rooted scars that we find it extremely difficult to heal. So let's explore why we get into a relationship. Now, I know from a very young age, when I was born, I had a very fulfilling childhood. You know, I had great parents. I still do. They gave me the very best they could do under the circumstances. They sent me to private school. They gave me a very good education. They gave me a good career. I was in a family business. But then even against that backdrop, I was never happy. It wasn't happiness that was constant. Of course, I was happy on a day-to-day basis, but it wasn't permanent. It was almost like it was a roller coaster. Some days were happier than others, and some days less so. And it was only when I started to do meditation, after a series of events that led me to meditation, that allowed me to explore my inner self. And that's when I found the answers that I was looking for. So now I have all of those things. I'm a self-employed builder. I manage building projects. I work with a lot of subcontractors. At the same time, I also have a family. I have 4 grandchildren. I just went today to celebrate one of my son's 6th birthday today, Rohan. But that relationship is one of total acceptance. I know that if I was in that relationship, say 25 years ago, I would have had a different experience. Maybe that wasn't sort of my own making, but now I feel so chilled. I feel so happy, and I'm so relaxed because I'm happy inside. So when we get into a relationship, there's always something that we desire. We want something from the outside. So think about when you got into a relationship. I'm sure that you met someone in your life and you think, I could spend my whole life with them. And they would probably reciprocate those feelings. And then when you get into that relationship, everything is good. You accept them as they are, what they are, without any conditions attached. Yes, you do, don't you? And then you suddenly start finding faults in them. You don't like the way they dress, the way they speak, the way they sit, the way they eat. And suddenly you start subtly directing them how to play their part. And what happens? They are doing the same to us. So at first, the relationship is based on acceptance, where there's no expectations of each other. There's no judgment of each other. There's just total acceptance. But as the relationship develops, we start imposing conditions, because what happens in a relationship, I want to be the dominant person. It's my ego that I need to feed. So I then want to control how that person behaves, what they do. It is almost like I'm directing and writing their script. Do you like that? I don't like it, but that's exactly what we do. So that relationship eventually is going to sour. It's going to become acrimonious. There's going to be bitter feelings. And there will be moments when you just want to walk out of that relationship, but for some reason or another, you persevere. In some situations, you can literally walk out of that relationship, but for some, it's not a sort of a situation they can just walk away, because there's a lot of responsibilities, there's a lot of bondages that are tied together, they're interwoven, and it's difficult to unpick those. So what happens in that relationship now, both parties are putting conditions. Now, if you meet those conditions, oh, then it's okay. The relationship's fine, isn't it? Because they're pleasing me. But if they don't tick those boxes, if they don't meet my expectations, then I get upset. Then I get angry. Then I feel bitter. Then I feel resentment. Then I'm questioning this whole relationship. And they are doing the same thing. So inevitably, based on this type of awareness of expectations, the relationship is at a point of no return. And sometimes one is more dominating than the other, and this can leave in today's world, physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. There's all sort of abuse that's been taking place, and those will leave deep scars. So I come to the crossroads where I have to make a decision. I either stay in this relationship and continue with what's happening, or I can compromise. We can have a heart-to-heart discussion. We can be open. Or failing that, I just let go of that relationship. I walk out, and both I feel relieved. But actually, I am not free from that relationship because I'm still empty inside. So the relationship that started where I was not expecting anything, I was not taking anything, became where I wanted to take. So I was taking from the external. I was taking from that relationship. So think about this, not just in a sort of like with another human being. This could be a pet. This could be a car. This could be your most treasured possession. This could be your job. And we get attached to that. And the moment we become attached, we're not under our own control. We're not in control of ourselves. We're always at the mercy of the external. So coming back to my example of that relationship, I become free. So I'm thinking, I'm glad they're out of my life. Good riddance to them. And what do? What do most people do when they've been in that situation? They like their independence, but then there's a yearning once again to have another relationship, because the reason why that happens is I'm not full inside. I'm not looking for happiness from within. I'm looking from the external. So I feel I'll only be happy, I'll only feel full when I have somebody in my life again. So what do? I go out and sell myself, and say, I'm looking for someone who can be part of my life. So we go through the same role model, the one that we had before. We get into the relationship, and it's a very wonderful relationship. But then ultimately, the acceptance again turns into expectations, and you know what the rest is. So on this basis, I'm never going to be happy in a relationship. The fundamental reason why we're unhappy with our jobs, with our situations, with people around us, whether it's our family or friends, or whether it's our work colleagues or society in general, it's because we're empty. I mean, think about in today's world, there seems to be an awakening of the injustice in today's world. So we have relationships based on color, religion, ethnicity, and it's almost like everybody is feeling insecure when they feel threatened because they're empty. When I'm full inside, I can never be afraid. I can never feel that I'm the mercy of others because I'm full inside. And when I'm talking about fullness, I'm not talking about a bank account or a big house. No, I'm talking about where I'm totally content with myself, where I'm coming from a place where I value myself and accept myself. This is self-respect. Self-respect is nothing more than me being unconditionally loving towards myself. And when I'm full on the inside, then guess what? I will interact with people not on the basis I want anything from them. I will actually be contributing. I will be giving. I will be a benefactor, benevolent, because I'm full on the inside. I can interact with people where I don't have to be something or someone that I'm not. I can be my natural self. So when we get into a relationship, often we try to convince the other person or the situation that actually I am like this. But our true nature in time always reveals itself. You know, I always say, I can be nice to someone if I only meet them for a few moments a day. But if they were to stay with me 24/7, they're going to get the full picture. It's rather like the iceberg effect. So for that 10% of that time, I will project my best image. But what they don't see is the other 90%. But if they were with me, that's when they will see the differences in our personality. And that's what happens in relationships. Because we're not together for over a long period of time, then we only see a certain aspect of their sort of behavior or their persona. But when we're with them 24/7, we see them 360. We see the whole person and we think, actually, there's a lot of things I don't like about this situation or about this individual. So I'm always going to be feeling empty if I'm taking from the outside. But when I'm coming from inside, from within, accepting myself, then I realize that everything that I want from life, I already have. Now, if you think that a relationship will give you happiness, think again. If you think that your job will give you happiness, think again. If you think your bank balance increases, it's going to make you happy, think again. Because all of those things are temporary. And the moment we have a relationship with something that's temporary, whether it's people, whether it's circumstances, whether it's the weather, whether it's with our job, whether it's with our possessions, then ultimately my happiness will also be temporary. But what if we switch it around? Instead of looking outside, I look within. What I'm doing is I'm starting to change from within. I'm healing myself because I know no matter what I say or what I do, I can't change people. That's one thing I've learned. I can't change my wife, my children. I can't control their behavior. Ultimately, they are unique beings and I have to accept that. But before I can accept them, I need to accept myself. So the healing process begins from within. So I've got to look at myself. So 25 years ago, I had a series of events where family was okay, but I had a relationship with my family business. And when it was very successful, it was fantastic. But then there was always in the back of my mind, what if? You know, what if the business fails? What if the orders stop coming in? What if we lose all these big houses and flashy cars? Well, the what if happened. And that was the moment when I really felt insecure more than ever before. And it was like I was questioning my whole self, and I didn't know where the answers lay. You know, I read many books, I watched many people who are very philosophical, but they didn't answer the questions that I still had. They answered some, but not all of the deep questions that I was asking myself. Who am I? You know, what's my purpose? What do I want? And it's only when I looked at within myself, I really discovered that I don't have to be something or someone. I just need to be me. So when I started to accept myself, I was actually able to let go of things of the past, where things of the past controlled me. It could have been words, it could have been an action, it could have been a possession. I remember some people, you know, they were always nice, but just the odd occasion they said something or did something, and that left a very bitter taste, and it was very hard to let it go. And it seems to me in today's world, we seem to remember the more negative aspects rather than the positive aspects. That's because I'm not happy with myself. So when I started to look at myself, I realized actually I'm a very nice being. We all wake up in the morning wanting to be the best that we can be. And we don't go into a relationship where we want to hurt people or we want to leave scars. We want to go where we can bring benefit to others, where we can put a smile on others. But we can only do that when we were happy and content on the inside. So sometimes we have to go through a situation in order to realize that the happiness we seek is not on the outside, but it's on the inside. And the moment I look inwards, there's a whole perception that changes. So now I'm no longer dependent on someone being nice to me or not, whether the weather is nice or not, whether my car is got a big flashy badge or not. It doesn't matter. What matters more than anything else is the ability to live with my own self without any conditions attached. And that's the moment when I really start appreciating life. I really start appreciating who I am. And the moment I do that, I'm awakening my spiritual consciousness. I mean, I would say what meditation does, it leads to an inner awakening of the self, where I disidentify with all the labels and the roles that people have given us, that I've have attached to since a very young age. And now I've discovered I'm just an actor playing a role. Yes, I play the role of a husband or a father or a grandfather or a manager or a builder, but that's just a temporary role because that role is going to change. But the being behind the role is the real me. And that being is constant. That being is an embodiment of peace. So when I connect with myself, I'm actually being truthful to myself. I'm actually accepting myself in such a way that I exhibit the best of me. I become an ambassador of the real me, of human beings. And when I interact with people, now I'm no longer threatening them. They don't feel insecure because of my position or because of the color of my skin or the way I look or my gender, whatever. Now, I am totally engaging with people on the basis that I accept you, irrespective of what you do, because I know I'm seeing you as I see myself, as this wonderful actor playing your own unique role, which only you can do. And only I can play my own role. So therefore, I get away from this competing and comparing. And then my ego is absolutely crushed. It goes, it just evaporates, because the ego is the nasty side of me, I would say, either the arrogant me or the disheartened me. I'm not good enough, or I'm the best. But the moment I let go of all of that and start looking at myself, I'm being me. And so I allow others to be themselves. So on that basis, the relationship becomes wonderful, because now the relationship is truly one of happiness, because I'm not expecting anything or from anything from anyone, because how they play their role, that's their choice. But what I can do is that I can bring out the best out of them if I don't judge them, if I let go of the past, if I live in the moment and I see the being that they are just like me. And when I do that, that's when we build bridges. That's when we heal the scars of the past. That's when I can let go. And then suddenly, no longer am I stuck in the past. Physically, time has moved on, but mentally, I'm still stuck in the past. That happened to me with the relationship, with the business. But when that moment awareness came, it was literally 1 second. It was just like, it was a light bulb moment, you could say. And I was able to let go and have closure. So now I'm still able to aspire to all the things that I wanted to do when I was young, but there's a different approach. There's no more expectations. If it doesn't happen, nothing is lost. You know, it doesn't matter if I can't get this job, if I can't get this possession, if this person doesn't like me, it doesn't really matter anymore. Because the most important aspect in anything in a relationship is me. I'm just one part of that equation that leads to an outcome. But if my contribution is one of happiness, one of acceptance, one of respect, one of humility, then what happens is I will automatically bring out those innate qualities which we all have in others as well. And then the outcome of that is that we enjoy what we do. We appreciate. So we'll appreciate the job. We'll appreciate the weather. We'll appreciate our health. We'll appreciate our relationships. But when that situation changes, I can let it go because I'm not dependent on it. The danger is if I forget my consciousness, if I switch off, then what happens gradually, I will go back into that dependency mode. So I'm yearning for a relationship. I'm yearning for this and that. But that's the illusion that sort of, you can say, takes us into ignorance. So I've got to have this literally a spiritual awakening. I am this being, this non-physical being, this playing a role. And even this physical body, I mean, we all have a relationship with this body. So it's the one relationship we can't get away from. But this body is also one of the reasons that we experience so much happiness and sorrow. But if I have the awareness that I am an imperishable being wearing this perishable costume, then I have a duty of care to look after this physical body as well. Because whatever I'm experiencing inside, I will always project that on the outside. And that includes this physical body. So when I'm living in harmony with myself, there will be a harmony with this physical body, a harmony in nature, and we'll have a harmonious relationship with others as well. So it all starts with the self. And the moment I experience that, I'm changing the whole ethos of the way I behave. So what happens is I actually appreciate life and I like challenges. Now, 7 years ago, I was a sort of manager in education, in adult education. I used to manage 6 other managers. And I decided that I wanted to take redundancy. And when that opportunity came, I took it. For me, it was great happiness. But for some of my colleagues, they were in tears because they were so attached to their job. That was their whole relationship of that job, because it gave them a financial security, or it brought them a lot of friends. It enabled them to sort of keep them occupied. But when this redundancy knocked on their doors, there was obviously a sorrow experience. But for me, on the other hand, it was an opportunity. When one door closes, another one opens. So I always wanted to be a builder. Right from my teens, I've always enjoyed building work. And so I decided to do it. And you know what? I didn't go with any expectations, but I had the wisdom to know what works, what doesn't work. And you know what works in this relationship? So here is a business relationship. So think about your own circumstances. What works in the relationship is you. So when I'm being my natural self, if I'm honest with myself, if I'm kind, if I'm generous, that will be revealed in my actions with my clients, with my workers, with my suppliers, with whatever I do, because I can only give to others what is inside myself. If you've ever opened a bottle of orange juice, you know what you're going to get out? You're not going to get lemonade. You're not going to get apple juice. You're only going to get orange. In the same way, whatever we have bottled inside, that is what we will reveal. So if we have anger, if we have hate, if we have jealousy, if we have expectations, if we have arrogance, then that's what we will give to others. So we know that doesn't work. Yeah, for a time, people may comply to my anger, to my sort of control, but ultimately they will reject it. And that's when I get into this conflict of life's not fair. They're not treating me well. No, it's because I'm not treating myself well. So I think in today's world, if we want to heal the world, we have to first heal ourselves. So the more I'm in control of myself, the easier it is to let go. So it doesn't mean that I can't have a relationship, because I can prove that because I'm still married and I've allowed, I don't know, I wouldn't say that I've allowed, I've accepted our children. My wife and I have accepted whatever our children want. It's their choice. So we've had no expectations. We haven't put any pressure on them that you should do this, you should do that, because even in a relationship as a parent and a child, often we want the best for our children, but we put a lot of sort of conditions that are like a straitjacket, and we constrain what they want to be. So we've allowed them to be the beings they want to be. So we've given them guidance, but we haven't created tram lines. So we've always left our door open. If they need support at times of need, they can come to us. And now they're well established in their own rights, and they have their own children, and they have the right to bring up their children the way they see fit. And we've accepted that. Because we've accepted everything and allowed them to be themselves, the relationships is very wonderful. I mean, we have a great relationship because we've accepted each other. So sometimes we're parents, sometimes we're friends, sometimes we're advisors. But main thing is, we're only sharing with them what we have experienced ourselves in a very practical way. So our relationship with our children and our grandchildren, it's very loving. And that's because we pay attention to ourselves. So when there's a feeling that makes me feel uncomfortable, it's not the individual, it's not the situation, it's me. One of the hardest things that we can do is to look at ourselves. We avoid looking at our own selves, but we're very quick to judge others. I often say, when we get into a relationship and it goes wrong, for others, we become a judge, but for ourselves, we become lawyers. We're very good at offering excuses for ourselves, but for others, we're very black and white, aren't we? It's like straight down. It's either this or that. You did this, you did that. But we don't know their life story. So why am I getting involved with them? and nor do they know my life story. So I know what I've been through. I know the heartaches that I've experienced, but equally, I know that the solution is there within me. And it takes courage to look at oneself and realize that it's not the individual at fault. It's not even me that's at fault. What's at fault is I've just been looking in the wrong places for the happiness, the contentment that I've always wanted. And to acquire all of those wonderful virtues, I'm not going to find them with people or with money or with whatever it may be. I'm going to find them within me. I've always had them. It's just that I was looking in the wrong place. And the moment I connect, everything goes well. So now I'm really loving what I do. I enjoy the building work, and I'm interacting with clients that are very appreciative of what I do. So I pay a lot of attention to quality, to detail, and that's reflected in when I interact with my suppliers and my clients. And because I'm not hiding anything from myself, there's transparency, there's clarity, there's honesty. And I'm giving the best possible advice that I can give without wanting anything for myself. And because there's that honesty in that relationship, then I find that business comes to me very easily. So when I'm stop sort of putting expectations onto the outside world, I find that everything comes to me. So I'm very grateful to life that I seem to find the right people who are very much at my same level. They appreciate quality, and it's not always about price. It's because they understand what I want to do for them. And I also explain what I want as well. So it's very clear. And because there's honesty, the relationship is based on equals. So I never look down on someone because I think, oh, this is too small, or you, who are you? No, I value each and every individual because I realize it's just a role. I'm just playing a role, and this role will finish one day. You know, I wasn't born a father. I wasn't born a husband. I wasn't born a son or a brother or a builder. But these are roles that are constantly changing. But I'm the actor. So when I see myself, this being, and I see this being as like an energy. I mean, people call it many different names: soul, spirit, consciousness. But I just like to see myself as like this, just an image of stillness, just a light that never flickers. It's constantly ignited. I'm sitting here in the center of this forehead, and I'm using this vehicle, the body, to play out my role. And I'm thinking, you know, no one can play my role better than myself. I'm sure you've heard this expression before. So when I'm being my true self, then I don't need to write the scripts of others. I don't need to direct others. I just need to pay attention to myself. So if we're experiencing any tension, any upheaval in ourselves, it is because we're not paying attention to ourselves. The moment I take my foot off the accelerator of attention, I'm going to experience tension. So you decide what you want to experience, and no one gives us sorrow but ourselves. It's easy to say, well, they're always like this. But when we really examine ourselves and we go behind all the layers of identities and roles and labels, we will actually find that we're all the same. We all want the same thing. We want love, we want respect, we want kindness. It's just that in today's world, we've buried ourselves under all these sort of illusions of happiness. You know, sometimes when I'm traveling, I do a lot of traveling around the world, and even in the Leicester, when I visit clients, there's a lot of billboards promoting this and that. It's almost like saying, if you don't have that, you are missing out on life. And I'm thinking, I am not missing one bit. You know, whatever I have, whether I have or I don't have, it's all good because I'm happy with myself. So because I've healed the scars with my own self through my own effort, I've realized I've taken control back. So now I'm no longer dependent on the relationship with whatever that may be, whether it's a human being or an animal or a situation. It's just that I'm happy and I'm happy with everyone. And even if they're on the opposite end of my belief systems or my, you can say, values or culture, it doesn't matter because I'm not comparing, I'm not competing, because I'm not doing all of those things. I call these the 4 deadly C's: comparisons, competition, commenting, and criticizing. Avoid those 4 C's. They're the deadly C's. So when I avoid all of that, I'm happy and I make others happy. So it doesn't matter, as I said, what they say, what they do, they have a right, as long as they don't take advantage of me. I will never compromise my own truth. Whatever I have experienced that have taken me this far, I will never compromise that. And that comes from self-respect. Self-respect means that no one has the right to rule over me. It's me accepting myself. And when I have that respect, which is unconditional, that's when I will interact with others with love, with humility, and with acceptance. And that's when you get a wonderful relationship. So I think if we really want to heal the world, heal the relationships with ourselves, with the world, with nature, with other people, we've got to be first and foremost looking inwards. The answers and the problems are all within ourselves. You know, there is an expression, I'm my best friend and also my worst enemy. It's me. So let's let go of this enemy. The enemy is not out there. The enemy is actually the desires, the anger, the greed, the attachment. That's the enemy. It's not religion. It's not a country. It's not an idea. It's not technology. It's the vices. And if I look inwards, I realize I have been suffering from the pandemic of the vices, and they are the one that are prevalent in today's world, but I can get rid of them. And that starts with the self. That's why I say, look at yourself, treat yourself with respect. And like with anything, once we start injecting ourselves with virtues, with the truth, then what happens? Our immune system to anger, to intolerance improves, and we become strong and powerful. And we will then pass on that immunity. We'll pass on those genes of happiness, genes of love to others as well. So how wonderful is this world? It's all the way how I see myself. Everything that I see and experience is no more than a reflection of what's happening in my inner world. So if I can sort my inner world out, then the outer world will automatically sort itself out. Okay. Om Shanti. So I think I will open it out to everyone for some Q&A. If you want to type your questions, I think we can address them. If anybody wants to make a comment, I'm happy to listen to them or bring some clarity. Okay. Hi, Margaret.
Hello, Paramjit. I think that's been wonderful what you've been telling us. There's so many things in there. And personally, I know about these things because, like you, I've been practicing this for a while now. And really being yourself, being honest with yourself, being me, stopping all the criticizing, complaining, comparison, etc., and just dropping it all and saying, I want something better. I want to get to know myself. I want to know the real me. That one that's beautiful, that one that's lovely, that one that's happy, that one that's content, not that one that's got expectations and I don't want to be dependent and feel that I'm attached to and I'm at a crossroads and I don't know where I'm going and I get out of one situation and go into another and then think what to do now. The experiences are all inside so much that they're piling on top of one another and how to cope with it, how to sort it out. So this is it, one at a time, but the only one you've got to sort out is that one. That precious one that you are.
I think for all of us, we go through this journey of life, and when things don't go well, we're very quick to blame others. But I think my own experiences show me that sometimes when we go through a sort of, you can say, turbulence, it's actually an opportunity for me to look at myself. It's an opportunity for me to realize what I need to do. And some of us grab that opportunity and the awakening of the self takes place. But if we deny it, if we're still continuing to blame others, blame the outside world, what happens is we're not healing relationships, not building bridges. We're actually burning them. We're actually leaving even deeper scars. And so it's very important that we do look at ourselves. And, there's an expression, every cloud is a silver lining. And it's so true. I look back in my life now, and I'm glad all the things that happened. At the time, they weren't pleasant, I have to say. But that's because I didn't have those spiritual resources to deal with them. And I found it very difficult to cope with them. But then, once I realized that there was a lesson for me to learn, it allowed me to grow. And I always now ask myself the question, when something is not going well, I ask this question, what has this individual, what has this situation come to teach me about myself? And if I ask the right question, I will also get the right answer. And then that lesson will never come back to me again.
Now, there's two questions here for you. One is, can you explain more about how we heal from inside, please?
Okay. The first thing is that we shouldn't blame ourselves. We are in a sort of awareness where I make myself guilty and I play the role of a victim. No. First thing is we must draw a line to the past. The past is the past. I can't change the past. I can learn from the past, but I shouldn't live in the past. So what I'm doing then is that I'm staying in the moment and I'm saying to myself, very simply, I am a peaceful being. It doesn't have to be something, out of this world. No, it's just very simple. Keep it simple. I am a peaceful being. The moment I say that, I experience that inner stillness, that inner peace that's within me. And that's the first step. And so when I take that step of courage, of change, then all the resources that I need also come to me as well. So think about a time when someone or yourselves has been in a situation and they've shared their experiences. I don't know, but I found some real reserve. I don't know where it came from, but it came, and suddenly I had the strength and the courage to face the future. So be gentle with yourself. Don't be harsh. Don't be critical. And don't live in the past. Let the past be the past. Learn from it. As I said, I learned so much. I can't just explain it in a few words in this participation now, but definitely I would say accept yourself, be gentle with yourself, be kind, be compassionate and merciful. Charity begins at home.
There's another one now. Could the 4 C's be repeated, please?
Yes. Stop comparing yourself with others. Stop competing with others. Stop criticizing others, and stop commenting others. Compare, compete, criticize, and comment. We're all very good at that, but we can stop it.
Okay. Hopefully that person has managed to get the pen out and got it wrote down. If not, they'll have to listen to the recording. Now, how do I heal from a broken relationship when someone I loved will not forgive my mistakes or talk to me again?
Okay. Now, in this current lockdown situation, many people have had bereavements, and there's been regrets of, well, I should have been there, and I did have an opportunity to do something, but I didn't. But it's not about others forgiving me. I need to forgive myself. See, I don't know their life story. And even if I say, I'm sorry to them, it's not going to change them. And I don't need their forgiveness. I need to forgive myself first and foremost. If I don't forgive myself, whether they forgive me or not is not going to heal the wounds within me. So be kind to yourself. That's why I'm saying you do not need anyone's permission to let go of the past. Only you are holding on to that past, not them. They may be holding it, but what can you do? You can't control them. Let it go. But you still have the choice. We all have the choice whether we hold or let go. So whose choice is that? It's us. Nobody forces us to eat. Nobody forces us to drink. Nobody forces us to sleep. It's our choice. Every breath we take is our choice. And it's not that on the basis that someone is controlling me. If I'm allowing others to control me and I'm waiting for their forgiveness, then what happens? I'll wait till kingdom come. So be kind to yourself, and don't worry. When you heal yourself, you will find your vibrations will change, and they will actually pick up those vibrations, because sometimes it's very difficult to communicate with someone that's had a big fallout. So the way to heal that is, maybe I can send a card, maybe I can send an email, just say I'm sorry, or a text. But the best way is first have good wishes for yourself, and through those good wishes, send those good wishes to that soul, to that being. And then in a very subtle way, they'll feel the atmosphere change. Think about when you go from a cold country, a cold climate, to a warm climate. Whether you like it or not, you will experience the warmth. In the same way, when somebody is in the coldness of anger, of loneliness, of insecurity, when you are sending them the warmth of love, they will also experience that.
Thank you. That's real help. So another one. Thank you for an interesting talk. You seem to have had a successful life and career. So it surprises me why you suddenly turned to meditation. Was this because your drive started to slow down and you realized maybe you were performing roles most of the time and the real you was becoming obscured by this?
Yes, in many ways, I had everything that people wanted in life. I had achieved all this success. I had good education. I had the financial success. But while having all of those, the insecurity came not because I had those, it's the fear of losing them. So whilst I had them, I didn't actually appreciate them. It's ironic that when I had money, I never had time to enjoy that money. But it's only when I lost it all that I was actually able to appreciate it. And the appreciation came because I valued myself. Now, when I go into any sort of business contract, there's no expectations. I can be very open with the client. And you know what? My clients love the transparency and the honesty. They say, we've never had, they say, I've never had a spiritual builder before. So I think that's a nice compliment, I would have to say. But yes, the moment you let go, everything comes to you. It's rather like your shadow. If you're chasing your shadow, you will never catch your shadow. But the moment you turn your back, the shadow is always chasing you.
Thank you. The next one is, when talking about relationships and dealing with hypersexualized world, in a hypersexualized world, when people, especially women, get objective sized, that's a word that I'm not used to, by men, what is the way to not get discouraged? Now, I hope you can pick up on that in my broken reading.
Yes.
You
I
can.
think we are, as we can see in today's world, where it's become very sort of physically dominated world where people need to be stimulated to sort of appease their sense organs. And I think if anybody's in that situation, you need to have the courage and say, no, you know, more and more we become addicts, addicts to possessions, addicts to sex, addicts to drugs. And what is it? It's to stimulate the hormones in our body. Well, guess what? If you want to get out of that cycle, you have to switch your consciousness to the real being. You know, it's Einstein that once said, you cannot solve a problem in the same consciousness it was created. So here, if I'm still getting into a relationship where someone else is always wants something from me, then I know I'm not going to change them. But what I can do is change myself. And it does take a lot of courage to say, okay, I'm going to follow a certain lifestyle. I'm not some sort of object or a toy for you. I am a being. And if they can't accept that, that's their problem. But I must never let go of my principles and values. I mean, I've never compromised my values since I've started life. I may have done before 25 years ago, but certainly when I've started to discover the real me, I've been very firm with people. Being in a relationship doesn't mean I can't be assertive. It doesn't mean that I'm always a sort of yes person. There is a time and place when I can be my sort of true self, in that if I disagree with something, I have the right to express myself. But if the other person doesn't accept it, then let it go. I mean, ultimately, if somebody's just using me just for their sort of their pleasure, then I have to question my own self and say, you know, is this is what I want? And I say no. Be the being that you always wanted to be. Let go of others and be courageous, be fearless. And you know what? The moment you take that stand, everything works for you.
Thank you. There is another one here that says, will their soul feel this if they are no longer here, i.e., or good wishes to them? I think it's
Mm,
appertaining to when you were saying, send the good wishes, the
yeah,
pure feelings.
definitely. I think even if it's somebody who's passed away, you know, if we're hanging on to them, we're holding on to them, we're actually sort of, we've got these subtle strings of attachment and we're pulling them back. It's time to let go. And the way to do that is always have good wishes wherever they may be, whether they're on the other side of the world physically or they're passed on into another life. That's fine. But those feelings will definitely touch that soul. I know that I've had somebody very in my family, one of my in-laws, um, there was a feeling of a little bit of jealousy because I don't know, maybe I was played the more prominent role in the family, and I didn't say anything about it, But when I did meditation, I realized that I could actually heal that relationship, any bad feelings that she may have had towards me, by having good wishes for her. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. Yeah, I have a very good relationship with that individual now.
So that looks as if that's the list at the moment. We've managed to go through that list. And so I don't know if there's any other questions anyone else would like to say. I've enjoyed what you've been telling us. And I'd like to say to you, Paramjit, I think you're a spiritual builder of dreams, be it in building work, be it in, helping with any form of thing. You're helping people to realize the dreams, and it's a great thing to do. It really is. But for me, we're looking at the spirit of the individual. We're looking at the self as something which is a life force energy that's so strong, powerful, important. And if it's for good, then that honesty and that drive that you have will make the world, it will change the world, it will change your circumstances and situations. But if you're not actually seeing the goodness, then you're actually perpetuating all the other things, like the expectations, the disappointments, and getting into things like that. So I feel you need to have a better understanding of what spirituality is for the self and for others. I think it'll heal a lot. So if we could then do some meditation, if you'd like to lead us into meditation, if we could have some meditation, that would be
Yes.
nice.
So whilst we can have knowledge, which brings clarity, but we also need power to put the knowledge into practice. And that's what meditation does. It's rather like I'm like a sort of living, walking mobile phone. And if I don't recharge my batteries, then no matter how good the stuff there's within me, it will not reveal itself. So meditation is the process where I'm really re-educating myself, reawakening the self. And I've just like everybody right now, whatever they're doing, is to let it go, sit very comfortably, just relax your muscles, just take a deep breath and exhale and breathe very normally. And just become the observer of your thoughts. Imagine yourself, you're looking at the screen of your mind. There are so many images of people, of situations, of things to do, things that were done. Just stand back and let them go. And now create a simple thought. I am a peaceful being. In my mind, I have a choice. It is my choice to create peaceful and loving thoughts. I accept myself unconditionally. I let go of the things of the past. And I just stay here and now in this moment. I see my mind like a garden, and I am the gardener of this garden, the mind. And I sow the seeds of my thoughts. I water them with love, with respect, and they blossom into flowers. There is the fragrance of peace in the garden of my mind. I look upwards into the sky. I see a bird flying. It is able to fly wherever it wants. in my mind, I too can fly wherever I want. There are no limitations, no chains of attachment. I am free. I am the master of the kingdom of my mind, and I am seated on my throne of self-respect, and my thoughts are my subjects. There is harmony in the kingdom of my mind. I am the peaceful ruler, and I see myself like a tiny star, constant, eternal. My light can never be extinguished. I see myself as this tiny point sitting in the center of this forehead, seated on the throne of my self-respect. I, the soul, see through the windows of the eyes, speak through this mouth. Everything I need, I have within me. I am a jewel of contentment. There is nothing I desire. I am a bestower. I give, and I send out vibrations of peace, of love, to all the souls that I have come into connection with. I forgive the souls who have hurt me. I let it go. I am a benevolent being, a gentle being, a kind being. My heart is strong. I am fearless, courageous, powerful. This is who I am. This is the real me. This conscient being, a being of peace, a point of light. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much. I think the title was, I know it was, Healing Relationships One at a Time. If you heal the relationship with the one, which is you, all others must then heal, slowly, one at a time. So thank you for that. Thank you for this session. It's been wonderful. I'd like to do a little bit of advertising now, if I may, for our next session. We have on Tuesday evening, 6 to 7:30, creative meditation. So if you want to heal the self and you want to be the one to do that, then come along and join us for this meditation. It really does help. It definitely helps. And then moving on to Thursday evening. Thursday evening is Virtues and Powers evening. So we're looking at qualities, virtues and powers which help to actually get rid of all the negativity that you have. When you're thinking of a virtue,